Welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. And this week, there's a star man. Wait, did I already do this one? I'm pretty sure I already did this one for another episode. Oh, who cares? We're talking with Tony James! Cue the music! Hello there, Capers, and as I said, welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. My name is Scott James Merridew, and this is the show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and I'm joined each week by a very special different guest. My guest today is a fantastic comic writer who's now joining us for the first time on Podcapers. Give it up, everyone, for Tony James! How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing very well indeed. I feel weird. I like calling people sir. I don't like to be called sir myself. That feels weird. And it's like, let's have a knighthood to back it up. In which case, then everyone has to call me sir, even my mum.
All right, I got it.
It's so great to have you on here. How are you doing? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Queens, New York, Spider-Man country.
You beat me by a second. I was going to say, ooh, that's where Spider-Man lives. Because that's the only thing I know about Queens. That and like something related to Fran Drescher. Is she from
Yeah.
Right, there we go.
Yep.
That's it. That's all I know. Spider-Man and the nanny.
Yes.
Wait, no.
Yeah,
the nanny was from Flushing.
What? No, she was from Flushing. I'm in Astoria.
Okay.
Which is a little more west, I want to say.
Oh, but they're both in Queens.
Yes. Yeah, Queens is a big place.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. It's like, because I'm in Edinburgh, and so people are like, is the difference between like Leith and Morningside, maybe? I don't know. I don't have a lot of context. But it's so great to have you on. Now, you are a writer, are you not, of comic books? Is your chosen medium?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
That's what I do.
Right, so what I want to know is, first of all, before we go into all the big details about the fantastic comic we're going to talk about today, tell me a little bit about you. What do you do? Where's your grand place in the cosmos?
Okay, well, I'm Tony James. I'm a comic writer. I've been writing stories since high school. I'm 34 now. And over the pandemic, I wrote a series of different stories. And one of them was the Noir comic that we'll talk about today. Mm-hmm. I just very, very much into the nitty gritty of story and story structure and character growth. I read books on writing all the time when I'm not writing myself. Very much a student of the game, as it were.
Oh, good. That's the same with me, because I've got a bunch of, admittedly, books I haven't read in a little while. People like Sid Fields and story and that sort of stuff. That's mainly to do with screenwriting.
Right.
Though I think I've got what's that one book about the hero's journey? I've got that somewhere. I need to reread them. I need to go back to them for a little while. But it's good that you're doing it, because you've said like my happy trigger words. You said story structure and character development, which I love.
Right. Yes,
it's because so many people don't do that these days, and it makes me mad.
Nope.
Basic structure cut.
You can't cut corners.
No, you can't. You can't. I'm not saying you have to adhere to a 3-act structure in anything. You don't. You don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. But if you're gonna do it, fucking do it. Commit. Don't be like this wishy-washy. Oh, we need to put like the second act Dumont 20 minutes into the movie. It's fine. No, you need to fucking pace yourselves properly. There's a reason why this shit works. Shakespeare did it.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
technically, there were way more than 3 acts back in the day. You could have as many acts as you want, but we have tiny bladders.
Structure.
Yes, so we gotta shorten our acts till we get on with our lives.
Well, in today's modern society, when everything's on the go, you don't have time for your traditional 5-act structure or 7-act structure or 8-act structure. No. Today's working man, he needs a 3-act structure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Act structure express. But anyway, that is so great, and we're going to get into all of that, don't you worry, in just a moment. Before we do any of that, though, we've got to talk about the news! Thank fucking Christ, this time we don't have to talk about Ezra Miller.
Oh, no.
Moving on. We're moving the fuck on. Even though new stuff has come out about them, frankly, I don't care to talk about them anymore. We're going to talk about something that makes me equally unhappy. The Knights of the Old Republic remake has officially changed developers.
Oh, man. I really
leading
like
to.
that game.
I know. Tell me about it. I mean, this was when it was first announced. Everyone was great. They're like, "Oh yay, Aspire!" Those people have been doing all this other Star Wars relating stuff, like re-releasing a bunch of stuff for different platforms. They've been doing pretty great. I've actually got a few of their games, like on my PlayStation, that they've remade, and like so I think it was a Jedi Starfighter. I think I got, and Racer's Revenge, and things like that. All classic games I used to play when I was a kid, and. Then it was announced they were going to be doing the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, and everyone was like, "Ooh, yay! I can't wait!" And then it was just like, "Calm down, calm down. It's going to be a long time before it gets here." And now it's going to be even longer time. They released that there were going to be a few delays, and then some people got fired, and now it is officially out of Aspire's hand. Don't know exactly who's in charge. Sony, Lucasfilm, whoever. They've officially announced that it's been moved from Aspire to Saber Interactive, which is an Eastern European studio that's still under the same like group that owns Aspire, but still it's been moved to a completely different group of people, meaning that it's been delayed by several other years because they have admittedly been, in fairness, been upfront with us from the start, saying that this game was going to take a long time to make because it basically needed to be remade from the ground up, which is what I think most of us were hoping for.
Right, yeah.
Because we don't want just another shitty, like, bland remaster that's barely a remaster, Rockstar, and then it gets shat out to us for 50 fucking quid or whatever. Yeah. And so I'm glad they're taking the time with it, but this is disheartening.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, KOTOR is one of those like iconic on the Mount Rushmore of video games titles, and I have played both of them, that one and the sequel, numerous times. And as great as those games are, those graphics have not aged very well at all, and it really needs a facelift.
Well, I agree with you with the facelift aspect because I've actually been watching a lot of like these independent people, like independent artists on YouTube that are just like remaking all of the cutscenes and things like that in the Unreal Engine. Things like that, and it looks really cool. I personally am fine with the graphics. Like, yeah, it is very dated, but you know what? It works because there's so many other games at that time where the graphics are just like unwatchable, just like, oh, poison to my eyes.
Yeah.
But not the case, at least for me, with KOTOR. But it is a bit of a sad news, especially considering how much since the dreaded House of Mouse has taken over Star Wars, the absolute Darth.
And it was and it seemed like it was going to be a really big get for Sony because the KOTOR was a big Xbox title when it came out, and now it was going to be like a big Sony release. So it was kind of weird that this game that was a staple for Xbox sort of switched sides, as it were.
Absolutely, because I never had an Xbox. I've only had other PlayStations, and the only way I've ever played KOTOR was on PC. It's one of the few PC games I've ever played because I'm one of those filthy console peasants. But yeah, it is a shame, and we need, frankly, more Star Wars good news right now when it comes to video games. Because we got Jedi Survivor coming out at some point, but beyond that, it's just like, oh, there's also that like battle royale shit which no one cares about, and the more recent Lego Star Wars game, and it's just like, oh, it's just such a wasteland right now. So this is a shame. Hopefully, it'll all work out soon. Oh wait, no, I forgot about that huge, Quantic Dream game that's coming out, but made by those people who are, fucking abusive. Oh wait, no, and there's also the Ubisoft open world game made by people who are abusive.
Get it together, guys.
Boo! You suck. Let's talk about something nicer. Let's talk about the new trailer for the film that took my eye because it's such a weird that this trailer for me came out of nowhere, at least. Trailer for an upcoming film called Slumberland, directed by Francis Lawrence, and it is based on the old comic strips Little Nemo in Slumberland. Are you familiar with that thing?
I'm not familiar with the comic strip. I watched the trailer. It was very good.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest comic strips, and it's basically just like the adventures of this kid Nemo in his dreams, basically, and it's very interesting. It's been actually had a huge influence on culture. It had like an opera made of it, tons of like artwork done separately for it that people really liked. There was even an animated film starring, and I'm not making this up, Mickey Rooney in like the late 80s. Well, it started production in the early 80s, came out in the late 80s, and a bunch of people worked in it. People who used to work, went on to work, or currently work for at the time Studio Ghibli. I think
Yeah.
I think it was Hayao Miyazaki, I think, worked on it, and he said that he was one of the most worst experiences of his career. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what I've heard about it, that film, because there was just such huge production trouble for it. But then you go see the animation for it, and it looks fucking amazing. I hear the story's kind of crap, though. But the character that Mickey Rooney plays in that movie is being played by Jason Momoa in this movie. You never think of those two in the same room, but there you go. And it's about this kid now called Nima, because there's been a gender swap, who's now in her dreams in Adventures in Slumberland, and Jason Momoa is this guy called Flip, who's like this. He wears a top hat and has goat horns, which is fucking amazing. I can't believe it's taken this long to get a Jason Momoa movie where he's got fucking like pan horns and a big top hat, like steampunk sort of shit. One minor weird thing, though. The trailer looks really cool, but the character's name is now Nima, played by this actor called Marla Barkley. Nemo is Latin, which means no one. It's not gendered. You could just have her called Nemo, and that'd be fine. I think they did that to avoid confusion with, like, the Finding Nemo movie, maybe. But Nemo is not a name.
Right.
Nemo is, and it's, as far as I'm aware, it just means no one. It is not gender specific. Only criticism I have so far, like I said, this is a trailer, but it looks really cool. A lot of the visuals, if you go and look at the original Little Nemo and Slumberland comic panels, you will see a lot of similarities. They've clearly taken a lot of inspiration from it. And I'm interested to see what happens and see where it goes. I find it weird that this has come out right after The Sandman came out.
Yeah.
That's a coinkydink, right?
It's got some big shoes to fill, I think, coming after Sandman.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see how it comes out. One thing that I am not at all interested in seeing how it comes out is we've just got some new footage for HBO's The Last of Us series.
Oh. You excited?
No.
No, okay.
I'm not excited.
Okay.
Dear God, there's more. No.
So I'm not a big fan of The Last of Us. Oh, look, here come the torches and pitchforks. No, it's not. Here's the thing. I've not played the second game, so I'm not going to comment. But the first game I have played, played one like the second remaster. There's like another one coming out. I don't give a shit. And it's a great game, and it's got a lot of great visuals, even the old version. And I love the voice acting. Voice acting is fantastic, and the gameplay mechanics are great. It was perfectly fine. I am just so bored as shit of zombies.
Yeah, I mean, when that game originally came out, I mean, I think the zombie genre was already pretty played out, but this one found an emotional component to it that kind of kept it fresh.
But I think the reason why I got emotional component is because you were able to play that game and spend a lot of time with those characters, and you see the relationship grow, which you can have in an HBO show, especially when you've got like Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, I believe it is.
Yep, Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey. Two Game of Thrones veterans. It's so cool that they get to come together again for HBO. And I'm not going to mention House of the Dragon. Not yet. Save myself. But its nickname is Hot D. I'm going to move on. And it's just like, I like the game, but I honestly didn't even finish it because as much as I like these characters, for the most of the time you're just playing the game and you're just battling hordes of zombies and random survivalists. And I just found myself thinking, like, I like these characters, but I don't care enough about this game. And I'm not saying it's a bad game, it's just that I was waiting for the twist beyond the emotional stakes and the great character development. I was waiting for, like, because it is a game, and you have to focus on the gameplay elements. I was waiting for, okay, what's the bit of this that is unique? What's the USP? And there really isn't one. It's got crafting mechanics, seen that before. Oh, different kinds of zombies, seen that before for decades now in video games. And honestly, even if it just focused on like the different human antagonists or something like that, like, oh, you have to fight human beings and weigh the consequences of doing that in some sort of gameplay mechanic, maybe that could work. But I just never really got into it. And now the show's coming out, and for fans, I'm sure they're delighted, and I'm great for them. I don't care. I'm sorry, I just don't care.
The thing that concerns me with this, I hope that it just doesn't fall into the same thing that happens to other video game adaptations, where it is such a carbon copy of the video game that after you're done watching it, you sort of just shrug your shoulders and go, "Well, I'm gonna go play the video game now." Like you don't, it doesn't have its own identity to it, so you kind of, it kind of has almost like a soulless quality to it.
Yeah, and I understand why so many video game movies and TV shows do that, because they want people to remind them. They got brand recognition, that's why they want people, and if they change things too much, then it's going to distance yourself from their original audience. But, I mean, that's the nature of adaptation. That's always been the case. It's always going to be a balancing act, and you're going to have to change things. So you just
you need like a Chris Nolan Batman version where they take the elements that make it great, but then recreate it from the ground up, so you kind of get the same vibe and the same atmosphere, but it's kind of has its own originality to it.
That's a pretty good analogy, frankly. I mean, it's slightly different from Batman because he's had so many different interpretations over the years, whereas The Last of Us is relatively recent, and a lot of other video games that have lasted a long time have experienced little to no variation. Like, we have yet to get the Super Mario Brothers game where they're like intergalactic space plumbers.
Yes.
Well, technically we have kind of got that already, but we've not had that like variation in tone or anything like that. Side note, can't wait to see how they handle the Super Mario movie with Chris Pratt as Mario. Oh, that will never not be funny.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one for sure.
Oh God, I can't go down that tangent. I mean, here's the thing. The reason why I'm talking about Last of Us is because of the new footage released for it in a big new, like, HBO, like, hey, here's all the reasons why you should subscribe to HBO Max sort of package. And in fairness, it was a very good trailer. Lots of interesting shows come up, which I have little to no context for, but you know what? Fine. And it looks interesting. There's lots of stuff going on there. And yes, I will admit I have watched the first episode of House of the Dragon. Have you seen the first episode of House of the Dragon?
Yes. Yeah, I watched it last night.
Thoughts?
Well, for me, the Game of Thrones, it kind of just, it's hard to keep track of because all this exposition and all these big character names, and a lot of times I just hear waves crashing on the beach when they give me exposition. But this
Behold,
one,
it's Sir Hugh of Humblingdingadingading. Behold, he's got a massive antagonist with the House of Kaferg.
Yeah, so when they started up with their meetings about how to run the kingdom, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. But then I got pretty entertained. I mean, it really dialed it up with the violence. I mean, it knows its audience.
Yeah, and I don't want to go with spoilers for that just in case, anyway, because we're not here to talk about House of the Dragon, but it's...
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'm interesting to see how it goes. I think this stands a much better chance of succeeding than Game of Thrones did, because when I become Emperor of all the known universe, one of the first laws I shall enact is Christmas starts on the 1st of December, no further. You can't celebrate before then. We talked about that beforehand. But also... second rule, you're not allowed to adapt any book series unless the series is finished.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But here's the thing, House of the Dragon is based on Fire and Blood, this sort of pseudo-historical textbook that George R. R. Martin farted out on one of his holidays, but it's actually pretty good. But it's a very dry overlap of like the Targaryen dynasty, which is over like 300 years. So it gives them a lot of room for their own interpretation, and best of all, Benioff and Weiss are nowhere near this project.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
So I think we're in good hands. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is the fact that in this overly commercialized world, which is why we have Christmas so early, we have to live with some ads. Check them out.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
So, we're finally moving on from very much mixed things to something that I'm not really mixed about because I don't know all that much about it, but what I have seen is very interesting. We, of course, talk about Star Noir, which is a fucking excellent title, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, how has that not been done beforehand?
I don't know. I was just trying to figure out a good, fun title, and I did a little quick Google. No one had come up with it, so Here we are, Star Noir.
It rolls off the tongue. Star Noir. Star Noir.
Star Noir.
It's
You gotta say it with an elegant accent. Star Noir.
Star Noir.
Yes.
We should have like Rod Serling or something said. Picture a world where the Star Noir. I can't do Rod Serling. I can't. I can only do like that sort of 1950s radio announcer voice, like Reds under the bed. Those cowardly commies are making a play towards Lady Liberty. That sort of thing. I can't do Rod Serling at all. Mainly because I always nearly call him Rod Sterling. That's the whole other thing. We keep on talking about Star Noir. Tony, for the love of Christ, what actually is it?
Well, it is a noir story, obviously. It's about a 1940s detective who links up with a gray alien to stop a shapeshifter who is killing fellow officers inside Central Station, which is like one of the big precincts in Los Angeles.
Right, yeah, and I've seen some artwork for it. It looks so cool. I was about to say this hasn't really done for. It kind of has various small things that there's always like, in a world where we have the buddy cop subgenre, man and alien team up, it's inevitable. I think what sets us apart, though, is that this is not Alien Nation. This is not fucking Coneheads or some shit. No, it's properly noir in that, and what I like about it is it's basically what we show me. It's not noir in sort of like the dark, moody, smoky kind of way. It's noir in like, oh shit goes down. This is like Perry Mason reboot shit.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly. I was trying to go for that combination of that glamorized nostalgia that you know from all those 40s movies, that kind of fast talking dialogue, all the three-piece suits. But having that very cold air in the lungs kind of feeling, the very matter-of-fact world, like when you die, you're dead. And we have to figure out what happened.
Yeah, and you can't present it in sort of like a fanciful way. I mean, you could, you're absolutely fine. But that's like, as you say, nostalgia goggles, which is why when you show the brutality of crime, and we've got that because there's a man with a hole in his chest. Oh, God. Someone called John Hurt and tell him to hide underneath the sofa. Oh, God, now I'm thinking of Spaceballs. Oh, God, not again. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Moving on. I will do this occasionally. We'll find out, Tony. Tangents are my thing. I can't help but go down them. They call to me. They are my siren song.
No problem. I'm fine with tangents.
Yeah, but then we need to talk about Star Noir. We need to talk about... we'll talk about getting the real nitty-gritty of it in just a little bit. First of all, what I actually want to do is I want to talk about some of the other stuff you've done beforehand, what led you up to this. So one of the bigger things that you did previously, at least regarding things you put on Kickstarter, was a comic called Reloader.
Yes, Reloader. That was a cyberpunk comic about a virtual reality bounty hunter. And it was... Oh,
that's so cool. That's annoyingly cool. That just saying that, cyberpunk bounty hunter...
Oh my God, he's so goddamn cool!
I love that.
It works. It just works. So that did really well on Kickstarter, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yep. And that kind of that gave me quite the learning experience in running a Kickstarter, and then how to manage it after it's been funded. I mean, you're essentially running a miniature business for like 6 months. So I think all the lessons that I learned from that first campaign I've put into Star Noir, and I think I've come up with a very solid plan for this time around.
Well, I mean, it shows because the Kickstarter isn't up at time of recording, but when this episode goes out, it will be up. So, Capers, you'll be on the bandwagon. Get on there. We'll talk about that later. But I mean, so you talked about. You mentioned Koton, you played that. A Reloader. There's obviously because it's a virtual reality world. There's more than a few references to video games, right?
Oh, actually, the story was an entire love letter to video games because that is one of my hobbies I've been playing my entire life.
In fact, you said on your Kickstarter bio sort of thing, it says if you're not doing whatever else you're doing, you're playing Metroidvanias.
Yes, exactly, yes. Hollow Knight is a great Metroidvania. I love that. I love how hard the bosses are. The art style is incredible. But yeah. I have got
Hollow Knight. I've yet to play it. It's on my list. It's on my list. But here's the thing: I don't like it when it gets particularly hard. I don't like it when it's easy. I like having a challenge, but I also like being able to go at my own pace and not get frustrated. But I want to go into Hollow Knight because it looks so gorgeous, and I hear like the soundtrack. I've heard clips from the soundtrack, and it just sounds so beautiful and melodic, and almost a sort of peaceful, sort of alien type sort of atmosphere, if you will.
Yeah, I listen to. That's one of the soundtracks I go back to and listen to. Hollow Knight. It's such a great score.
I mean, it looks really, really cool, and I do like that. As you say, that art. I like it when video games sort of make it look like it's hand-drawn animation.
Yes, yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I like South Park, The Stick of Truth, and The Fractured Butthole so much.
Yeah, I mean that's what I like about that over the games that have more of that 2D art style. Like I don't particularly have a nostalgia for the 2-bit era of that 80s look. But when they do these hand-drawn animations...
no, I was thinking of like 8-bit. I didn't know that was a 2-bit.
Or 8, yeah, I can't remember how many bits there were, but the old school Super Mario look that they had back in the 80s. They try to make new games that have that same art style that I'm not really into. But when they do the hand-drawn stuff, that really grabs my attention.
So things like what was it called? The Dragon's Key? Dragon's
Lair?
Dragon's Lair, that was it.
Yeah, Dragon's Lair is a good one. Yeah, it was great.
I don't have it. So go on.
I love how they featured that in Stranger Things, season 2?
I hate this overpriced piece of shit.
Yeah.
I just like yeah. I mean, I do like. I just like new forms of art and different mediums, trying different things, and it's always nice when you have something that's a love letter written by someone who's knows what they're talking about. I mean, right off one of the covers, you had like a Dead Space reference.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I'm glad you caught that. Yeah, that's and that was the goal. We have like because we're still working on subsequent issues of that, and then the covers for the new one. One is the Diablo 2 cover, and then I have a variant that is a Monster Hunter cover.
Oh, very. I should point out, I've played a lot of video games. I've not played any of those games. I've not played Dead Space. I've not played Monster Hunter. Been tempted to, but I'm a bit of a cowardly custard, wouldn't cut the mustard. So I can't really deal with horror and stuff like that. And the big JRPGs, I want to play them, but frankly, they intimidate me. Just because they're so big and so fast. My comfortable RPGs like KOTOR or The Witcher. I'm playing The Witcher 3 right now, again for like the 5th time, and I'm good with that. Anything more than that, and it gets just a wee bit overwhelming for me.
How good are you at Gwent? What's your Gwent skill?
I am okay. So I am fucking master at Gwent, okay?
Yeah.
I get in the opponent's head, and it's an AI, it's a bot. I can't get in the head, but somehow I do it. Like, oh, I see. You put your little spy card on my thing. That's only 4 adds 4 to my overall score. But you think that I'm going to get my little, my dummy, my mannequin thing to swap that out so I can use it against you? But I know that as soon as I do that, you're going to follow that up with one that's even less of a score, so that I add 4 to you, and then you end up with 1 to me, meaning you can edge me out. No, Baron, bloody Baron, I see your game. I'm in your head. I know exactly what to do for you, which is why I have the monster deck.
Dear God.
There's more.
No.
Gotta stop using that clip, but yeah, it's. I actually did get the standalone Gwent video game.
Yeah,
there is for free. It's shit.
Yeah,
Played for
it's
like
bad.
5 minutes. I couldn't. Yeah. I don't know why. I could have just played the actual video game, just gone around all the people of like Velen and Novigrad and just like challenged them to Gwent over and over again. But no, I had to get this separate thing, and because I am CD Projekt Red's bitch.
Well, yeah, the problem with that one, the standalone Gwent game, is that during the beta, the players at that time figured out how to get all the best cards really quickly. So now when you go and try to play people, they have just these incredible decks, then you just don't stand a chance, like Mike Tyson fighting an infant.
This is why I don't play multiplayer games like MMORPGs. That's why I only made minor headway into the Old Republic Mamorpaga, simply because just like I don't want to play with other people. That's why I play video games, to get away from people. Jesus. So Yeah, that's my comfortable area. I mean, Metroidvania this is something you like. A lot of them come from Japan, like Castlevania, Metroid, and things like that.
Mhm.
So, are you into like the really big JRPGs or?
The only big JRPG that I'm into is Persona,
Oh,
and
oh,
even
oh.
yeah, and even that one, I didn't like it the first couple of times that I played it. I didn't understand how I was supposed to play it, and I would walk away for it. But I was just so charmed by the characters and the world that they had created for that game that I would just kind of go after a couple months, be like, it's me, it's not the game. Let me just try this one more time. And now I've figured out how I'm supposed to play it, and now I love it.
I tried. I tried it. I really, really did try. But somewhere along my 50th time of hearing that song, "You'd never see me coming," I was just
Yeah.
like, you know what? I think I'm done. I'm sorry, curly-haired Harry Potter boy, but you're gonna have to deal with your dream heist on your own. It wasn't for me, and that's fine. Okay,
Yeah.
I am neither a casual gamer nor am I a hardcore gamer. I am somewhere in the middle, in my comfy little console spot, and that's fine. That is fine. But that did really well, and so that, like I said, the Kickstarter for that was a big a big game changer for you, a big learning curve. What lessons did you learn from that Kickstarter that you're going to put into this Kickstarter for Star Noir?
I think probably the biggest thing is just being way more engaging with your backers, and because people would ask me questions, and then I was so busy making the book and had my head down. It's like, well, you actually have to take the time every week to talk to them and answer questions, and then let them know if there's a delay or something. So it being talking to your actual backers on a more regular basis, I think that's a major thing that I'll be doing this time around.
Huzzah! A man of quality.
That we like to hear that. That's
Yeah.
good. I mean, there's no manual for this stuff. I'm sure there are people that are saying, "Hey, here's top 10 tips you need to do for your Kickstarter," and they're
Right.
just like influencer do pros, and you don't want to pay attention to them. So you got to kind of figure it out as you go, and there will be pitfalls and learning curves, but it just means the next one's going to get even better, and then you can make the stuff you like. Speaking of,
Okay.
so this Star Noir, obviously it's noir, but it's very sci-fi. Reloader, very sci-fi. You also did this thing called Faceless, where a guy person wakes up every day with a different face, which is a fucking brilliant idea, by the way. That's
Thank
fucking
you.
amazing. So, is it safe to say that you have a preference for sci-fi?
I think so. Sci-fi allows you to make the irrational seem rational.
Hmm.
If it makes sense, if that makes sense.
That does make, I've never heard it phrased like that, but that does make an awful lot of sense because, I mean, you look at Star Trek and they basically got like space magic.
Yeah.
But you don't question it because it's Star Trek. Oh, that's a replicator? Fine. Oh, it rearranges atoms. No. Space magic. And that's okay.
Right. And then mixing the genres like with noir, it's trying to figure out how to stay true to the noir, but bring in these sci-fi elements and have them fit in this genre. Because Star Noir, the noir part, it's a total commitment to that genre and all of the influences that I have, not just reading books like The Big Nowhere, but like, the classics like Chinatown, Big Sleep, Double Indemnity, that kind of fast talking dialogue that they have. But then with the sci-fi elements, approaching it in a way that the X-Files really did, where they took these real world, these real as you want to believe them to be, abduction stories, and found a way to create their own narrative from them. And what you created was this kind of grounded sense of aliens, where you created this fear of the unknown.
It's not like Battlefield Earth or Star Wars or some shit like with lasers flying off all the place. Because I mean, the thing with a noir for me, I have a deep soft spot in my heart for noir, and that's because it presents a sort of a stylized, uncomfortable reality.
Yes,
it's like, oh, this looks nice. Okay, well, it's less nice than you think. The big thing for me, I think my go-to example when it comes to noir done really well, at least for me personally, is there's a graphic novel series based on the old Sandman, the original like Golden Age Sandman, who was like a noir detective, which later on became sort of a superhero when they made that transition. And but it's a more modern retelling set in the past in sort of noir style. It's called Mystery Sandman Theater, and it's brutal. It's really brutal, but it's a guy running around in a gas mask with a gas gun and knocking people over, like saying, Sandman sends you to sleep. And
Cool.
I do like that. And that's why I like you doing this way, because science fiction can also lend itself to that. It has done before with things like Blade Runner. I don't think this is exactly the same frame. The thing, looking at what you sent me and what I've heard about this and what I've looked up for this, it feels like LA Noir meets Destroy All Humans.
Yeah, more
LA Noir.
Just more LA Noir, but then Destroy All Humans, like it's not as bombastic over the top with the alien stuff. I do have fun with the alien stuff, but I do try to keep it in this noir setting.
As well you should, because that's how it works. And it's the way the artwork is done is it's done in such a appropriately stylized way, I would say, for that to say. Instantly, just looking at the artwork, not even looking at the dialogue or knowing anything about the story, you get a good sense about what this world is, what's going on, what the rules are, what the limitations are, but still adds like room for mysteries to be explored.
Yeah, that was the vibe we were going for. The artist that I worked with, is from Argentina. His name is Pablo, and when you're writing in the graphic medium, you as the writer tend to be writing for the artist, so your vision is sort of refiltered through their interpretation of the script. But we are constantly on the same wavelength. Like, I have a vision for an alien encounter, and I pitch it to him that this is the vibe I was going for, and he absolutely nails it on the first go. Like, he has such a good way of capturing the tone, and then also he makes all of these panels like there's a crime scene panel where there's just so much life to it. There's things going on in the background, stuff that that wasn't in the script, that he added himself to kind of create more life to each panel.
I mean, you absolutely want to go for that, because but frankly, the last couple of weeks in the UK, some pretty nasty shit has been going on right now. We've had quite a few murders and horrible things happening, and it's not been very fun, but life goes on, and you kind of have to acknowledge that whilst the world keeps on turning, there's some nasty stuff in the corner, in a pocket of it, but that pocket has stuff going on around it. It reminds me of, you ever watch the Doctor Who spin-off Torchwood?
No, I've actually never seen Doctor Who.
Okay, you can leave right now. You can go.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's fine. Now you get back. How dare you? You claim to be a sci-fi aficionado, and yet you've never seen any of Doctor Who? Hang your head in shame, sir!
Yes.
I mean, I am just so mad.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
I do have an interest in Doctor Who, but I need to speak to a Whovian who can tell me, like, what's the jumping in point. If I've never seen
jumping in point, I can tell you exactly when the jumping point is. Here we go. You're jumping for new modern audiences. The jumping point is the first episode of the revival, titled Rose, featuring Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor. It sets up mysteries about the Doctor that is intriguing for newcomers. It makes oblique references to previous things, which is fun for returning fans. It establishes everything you need to know about the Doctor concisely, while adding new elements that make it exciting for a more modern audience. And it builds on that from there, because this was created by a showrunner, Russell T Davis, who is a fucking master at long expanding story arcs and little Easter eggs and things spanning multiple seasons. This is what I refer to as the beginning of the golden age of Doctor Who, for me personally, because I have to understand, 12 years old, 2005 rolls around, I've never seen Doctor Who before. I know of oblique reference. I see like a guy in my head with a big long scarf, there's a yellow car, and there's a blue box. That's all I know. And Daleks. I know the word Dalek, because you can't go from Britain and not know the word Dalek. But beyond that, I have no context for anything, and it opened up my mind to this whole other way of storytelling, and it's fantastic. And then it just kept on building and building and building. The golden age started for me officially when there were 3 Doctor Who shows going at the same time. Doctor Who was for older teens and sort of not so much younger audiences, but there's a broad sort of audience appeal. Then you've got the Sarah Jane Adventures, featuring a long-running character, Sarah Jane Smith, played brilliantly by the late great Elizabeth Sladen, which is aimed at much younger children, but it's still very much watchable as an adult. I've seen all the Sarah Jane Adventures, and you know what? It was fucking great. It was tame, but it was great. And then you've got Torchwood, which is for much older audiences. There's sex, there's violence, there's swearing, but it's still in the Doctor Who universe. And it's managed to make Cardiff, Wales seem as noir as New York. Like, that is a hard sell, but they managed it. And it's so cool. It's got so many interesting characters. So I won't, if you've not seen it, and not even seen anything of Doctor Who, I won't spoil anything for you. I will say, that is your homework after this, Tony. Yeah. You're going to go on BBC iPlayer or BBC America, I don't know what, fucking pirate it if you have to, and you're going to watch episode 1, Rose, and then go from there. Okay?
That sounds good to me. I'll definitely do that.
Good! I should not have to tell you to do that. But anyway, so that's something that reminded me of Torchwood, which is, for me at least, very much a compliment. And it's so cool. And so a lot of the noir stories, noir, his problem is noir, we describe it as a subgenre, but it's a vague term because there's so many different ways a noir story can present itself. It doesn't even need to have sex or violence or crime solving or crime fighting or crime in general associated with it in order to be a noir story. So, but a lot of the time, there is a mystery. And so, bear in mind the sci-fi elements and the noir elements, how did you want to go about presenting the mysteries of Star Noir in this comic? Did you have any thoughts going into that, or was it just like, let's see how this goes?
No, I had an idea. Because the serial killers in these types of stories, they kind of have their MO, the thing that they're doing to all their victims, and I thought it'd be quite visceral to have their hearts being removed, and trying to have the main characters figure out, like, why these detectives, why are they being picked off one at a time. And I love the tension of, it's a shapeshifter that is one of you, that's walking among you, that is part of your precinct. So
Which
you're
is perfect for like the late 40s sort of aesthetic, because that was like the beginning of like McCarthyism and all that sort of stuff. And we mentioned like Reds under the bed, that sort of thing. Yeah. That was very much, I mean, cause the paranoia at the time was intense.
Yeah. So what we kind of came up with was a mystery where the main characters are constantly looking over their shoulder. They're reading into something that the captain says or something that another detective says, and you're constantly wondering, is this the shapeshifter? Oh no, he died. So this must be the shapeshifter. Nope, they're dead. Wait, this is definitely the shapeshifter. Nope, that one's dead too. So you kind of just, as it keeps going, as they try to find these who the alien shapeshifter is, their crew is just getting picked off one at a time.
Absolutely, and it adds, like I say, it heightens the mystery, it heightens the paranoia, heightens the political element, I'm sure. The way you describe it reminds me of like The Thing, but in like LA Confidential or something.
Yeah, that would be a fair comparison. One of the interesting things between the two main characters is that the main character, Alan, he can see his partner Ellis's gray alien form, but everybody else sees somebody who looks more like Tom Holland.
Sort of unassuming, like, oh, gee, Mr. Stark, thanks, sure, gee willikers. Yeah. And that's so cool. And I like the fact that you went with like a grey alien, just like the proto classic diminutive from outer space alien sort of thing.
It felt the most fitting for that era. You know, you could come up with your own version, but it just there's a lot of power in that design, especially for that 40s era.
Absolutely. And because it also adds to, because this is the thing, we've talked about the stylistic elements of noir. A lot of the time it's very dark and moody, and we mentioned earlier this is quite colourful, which is why now the grey stands out so more. In a way, the grey pops because it's the only bit of grey that we see in the page.
Right. Yeah. I like that contrast of the certain panels that you see the gray alien, and it's just this gray thing that you're drawn to, surrounded by color.
I like just seeing I just like seeing really alien shit in innocuous environments. It's like, you know, the shit in the middle of the platter that you've served dinner on. I don't know. That was a terrible analogy. My God, that was awful.
I hate to be the one what pours cold water on your small but perfectly formed bonfire.
Awful. Sorry, ignore that.
I love these sound bites.
I've got plenty more where that came from. Frankly, I need more Basil Brush sound bites. Oh God, I think it came up here for the Fringe, but I have no time to see anything for the Fringe this year, which is so annoying because we've not had the Fringe for a little while now. Now it's here, and I've been working the whole time. But anyway, Basil Brush often comes up here for the Fringe. Please tell me you've heard of Basil Brush.
I haven't. No, I don't know what that is.
In fairness, you're less likely to hear about him than you are Doctor Who. He's a fox. He makes jokes, and after he goes, ha ha, boom, boom, and that's his catchphrase. And frankly, he was my childhood.
Okay, all right. Well,
we'll move on from that. I'm not even going to give you any further context.
Okay.
But I love describing like niche British comedy acts from like the late 90s and early 2000s to Americans. Are just seeing like, what the fuck were you all smoking?
Yeah, I know about the IT crowd. I know about that.
That's not the same, and you know it. That's funny, even though it is written by a fucking transphobe. But
oh, it is. Oh, all right.
Yeah, Graham Linehan, who created the IT crowd and Father Ted, fantastic comedic writer, 2 great shows. He's a piece of shit. He's an absolute piece of shit and a snarky piece of shit. Whereas, like, at least J.K. Rowling pretends to be humble. Like, even though she's complete turf, he's just like nasty. But that doesn't make the IT crowd any less good, in my opinion, except for that one episode. Oh dear,
well, yeah,
I remembered.
Yeah, there is that episode where it's just like, I don't know how you got away with that then. I mean, forget doing it now. That's whew.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. The IT crowd is ruined forever. Move it, shelve it, put it away.
All right.
God. Where are we going with this? Oh, yes. Now, another big British character, Mr. Blobby. No, we're not going to go. I'm not going to subject you. Here, your second piece of homework. After this, just do Google image search of Mr. Blobby and know that Mr. Blobby was a childhood icon for millions.
Okay. Mr. Blobby.
Mr. Blobby. And that will give you nightmares. But you never watched Doctor Who, so frankly, you deserve it. I told you, tangents. We need to move on from that. So, like I say, it's a police officer, LA police officer, teaming up with an alien. We mentioned buddy cops earlier. Was that a big thing that you want to go into? Like, okay, this is going to be a weird sort of buddy cop thing, or do you want to like subvert that?
No, I mean there definitely is a buddy cop component to it. You have 2 characters who have wildly different views when it comes to police work. You have Alan, who is very much a very typical detective, not afraid to get his hands dirty, rough up his suspect to kind of get the information. Ellis is completely benevolent. He does not like to use a gun, which gets him into trouble. And he has to use his intellect to kind of get him out of a jam. And there are humorous moments where Alan is beating up a suspect, and Ellis is just like, "There's got to be a better way for you to go about this. There has to be."
I just love it when aliens are just like, "Why would you do that, human? Like, have you tried this way? It's really simple and really easy. You're making this needlessly uncomplicated." This is why when aliens eventually do invade planet Earth, I'll be like,
And I, for one, welcome our new insect overlords.
I had to. It was inevitable I was going to use that clip. It was absolutely inevitable. Just like how it's inevitable that we have ads on this show. Check them out. I just realized now the human is called Alan. How is it the human gets called Alan and not the alien?
I don't know. I guess it's just by accident. I mean, I don't know. Ellis, his last name is Tate, and he's referred to as E.T. In a number of things.
I thought that was going to be a reference to was the author of the LA Confidential series like was he Harlan Ellison or James Ellison?
It's James.
James Ellison. Harlan Ellison is completely different, right? That's another sci-fi author.
Yeah.
Oh no, he did. I have no mouth and I must scream. Right?
Yeah.
God, that story gave me nightmares. Don't like it. Don't like it. Speaking of video games, there was a video game based on that. Did you know that?
I did not. What was it called?
It's called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, and the narration is done by Harlan Ellison himself.
Wow, that sounds like a scary concept.
It is a scary concept. I've seen footage from it, and like there are ways to get different endings, different from the short story, which I won't spoil for you, audience. But a lot of the endings you get, they're very similar to the ending, and they actually visualize it this time. Not nice. It not nice at all. I do. God. We can move away from that. So, God. So, best case scenario, and this is all but guaranteed, but the best case scenario, Kickstarter does really well. You get everything you want for it. President gives you the Congressional Medal of Freedom or whatever they call it. Blah 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 blah. What are your plans for the series of Star Noir? What's the future of that look like?
Well, there are 6 books in this story arc. So during the pandemic, I wrote this big 300-page story, and then after revising it, I broke it down into these 6 books that are about 40 pages per book, and just getting those stories out there as quickly as we can. My hopes is that some of the smaller indie publishers do like it and would like to kind of bring it aboard for their catalog. But outside of that, yeah, I'm just publishing it and putting it out there for people to read.
Well, which is all we can hope for. I definitely want to read it in full when I get the chance. And this is a disclaimer I have to say, Capers. I have seen art samples, and obviously talking with Tony about this, but I have not actually read the comic itself. But if it's anything like the art samples you've given me, and the panels and the dialogue that I've seen, it's really cool. It looks so cool. What I love about it is going more into the art style right now is how dynamic it looks. Like I mean, you would expect that, but at the same time, just a scene of like Alan charging across like the bullpen and bursting into the captain's office with a big wham sound effect. It just looks so cool and looks so dynamic, and yet it's also it's not over stylized. I think is what I'm trying to get at, because it would be easy to underdo that and easy to overdo that and try to make it like you familiar with the production company, like there's a bunch of cartoons called Man of Action.
I think I've heard of that.
They've done a bunch of like Marvel cartoons, and it's over stylized to the point of obnoxiousness. Like they constantly change like the aspect ratio of things like that, and it's just like it's. And that'd be fine. It's like something that was very cartoony over top, like Looney Tunes or something like that, but not there. And I always worried when I read action comics that that's what they're going to go for, or something like that. So when it has a little bit of action, not the case here.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to go style over substance. We can just kind of meet style and substance together. That's the goal.
And it means that the best kind of noir stories, best kind of mystery stories like that, have a rhythm to them. This is why I do sometimes struggle with noir cinema, simply because, not because I don't like it, because I really do like it, but it's not something I watch late at night, because otherwise I'm just like...
Right, yes, I hear you.
Like, I fell asleep watching Blade Runner once, and that was a real low point for me, because I love Blade Runner. For some reason, it lulls you into this sort of thing, which is why I like, having high points and low points. And I love it when we have the action, but there are moments when the characters can breathe.
Yes. Yeah, and writing this noir story, as a story preference for me, I like my stories to be very snappy and very punchy, but I understand that the noir genre has that sort of slow burn pace to it. So the story is kind of like it has that slow burn detective thing to it, but there's a little bit of pep in its step. Like it is trying to get
like you mentioned earlier with that dialogue, like the smart, snappy, bringing a baby sort of dialogue. Yeah. Hey, well, that's fine. How you do? Well, you think I'm fine? I do. How about this? How you do? Oh, well, you think I'm...
Choke on a slice of shut up cake, you unfathomable swamp crab.
These sound bites are amazing.
I steal them from places. Fair use. I'm covered by fair use.
You got any Tommy Shelby in there?
No, I don't. I can go more obscure. I swear. the things I've got around here. What's the most obscure thing that I can find? What's the most? Nope, that's a little bit less obscure. What else we got? Oh, here we go. More stuff from the BBC. So, long time ago, there was this show about like animals. They were done puppets, and they said things like this.
Please be a montage. Please be a montage. Please be a montage.
You don't know where that's from. You don't know what that means. You don't have any sort of context for that. And it's going to haunt you, Tony. Haunt you till your dying day.
I got to Google it.
Good luck. Good luck. Maybe you will find it. That's the magic of the internet. But, oh, God. This is the thing. I've been watching so much American stuff now. I'm retreating back into the days of my youth when, the BBC was tolerable and actually produced good stuff that wasn't the occasional period drama, hard-hitting thing. Once in a while, we get something like Peaky Blinders or The Bodyguard or some shit like that. But for the most part, honestly, now it's kind of crap. There's a lot of stuff out there that I just don't care to watch, and it's so samey. I'm just like, do something different. You are the British Broadcasting Company. You will do something fucking different, and you will like it.
Yes.
This is why I wish they did something like this. Because honestly, the thing that's the most out there thing they've got right now is Doctor Who, and frankly, I found the last series borderline unwatchable. Literally, I've been able to watch like an episode a month now because I can't do it back to back just because. Oh God, why?
That was with the lady from Shaun of the Dead. That was
that's a completely different actor. I know exactly what you're referring to. That's a completely different actor.
Wow, they look similar. Okay.
They do look similar, yeah. But I think about like as immediately like, oh, I know what he's referring to, but no. And she's great. Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor is fantastic. It's just the story does not support it. There will come a point in your Doctor Who journey when you realise, okay, I'm kind of checking out right now, and that's okay because that show has been going on since the goddamn 1960s. It has been going on longer than Star Trek, I think. So there will come a point where you're just like, okay, you know what, I had my fun, and now I'm ready to check out. Maybe I'll go back in a little bit for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's fine. But anyway, I can't go into Doctor Who. I can't, Tony. Don't make me. We need to talk about. So we mentioned Pablo, the artist. Who else is working on this comic?
We also have a colorist from Brazil. His name is, I call him Vin because he has a big name that I don't want to butcher. So Vin Townsend, that's the name I call him.
Now you made me think about the character from Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series, and I feel sad.
I don't know what that reference is.
It's a book series that I just finished, the first 3 books that I just finished, and it's huge emotional stakes. I had a little cry on the bus as I was commuting back from work, finishing the book. A lot of people stared at me. I didn't care. But anyway, so Vin's working, so what were they doing, sorry?
Oh, well, he's worked for IDW. He's done some colors for G.I. Joe. That's probably a big notable thing he's known for.
And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe!
Yeah, he's done some work for G.I. Joe. And then my letterer, his name is Marco, and he is from Italy. Very, very nice guy. He was doing like a very cutesy comic with little animals that he was lettering himself. And then I showed him this artwork, and he was like, "Is there any way that I could letter this?" And I said, "Yep, definitely. Let's do it." And then he started lettering it, and I really liked everything that he brought as well.
I mean, we've got something like this. You need good lettering, and it's coming around. I like how there's a very sort of an international effort. You've got people from all 4 corners of the world.
Yes, this international Avengers of creators we're doing here.
That's the great thing about the internet right now and being able to network like that and do shit like that, because you couldn't do that not long ago. You could try, but organizing a meeting or something like that over Gmail or fucking Skype. We used to do this show on Skype. I can't believe we were ever that stupid. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I can't believe what happened to Skype. I felt like the pandemic was its time to shine, and Zoom just came in and said, nope, we do it better and easier.
College Humor did a skit about that, a whole long-running skit about the CEO of various companies and having freak out, basically, about shit that's going down. And it was the CEO of Skype saying, "What did we not do? Okay? We did everything that Zoom did, and you just went to zoo, you unfaithful bitches, or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't match. You think I'm intense? I can't match the intensity of Brenny Lee Mulligan. I can't do that. I can try, but the man has stamina. Anyway, it's so cool that you're doing that with all these great things. Now, this Kickstarter is going to come out a few days before this episode gets released. When's it going to come out?
Mm-hmm. Well, it launches August 29th. So when this podcast is out, it'll be already live. And it will run through September. And then I go to New York Comic Con every year. And it'll end just after New York Comic Con.
Fantastic. And what's the goal you're going to go for?
Well, I mean, the goal is 10K, but every extra 1,000 on top of that, we can spring for the nice mailers that don't bend the comic. We can spring for the fancier paper that makes it look the book a lot nicer in your hands. So yeah, that's the 10K, and then everything else is trying to sweeten the pot, as it were.
I do like that nice paper.
Yes, especially because
Batman's greatest boner.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
See, I'm a Batman fan, and I have not heard that. Where's that from?
Right, okay, so that is from the YouTuber / voiceover artist Sungwon Chun, aka ProZD, whatever it's called. And he does these skits, and this skit he did one time, I'm ruining the joke by explaining it. There's this old comic of Batman where the word boner is used several times, because back in those days, in like the 1940s when the comic came out, it had a very different context. It basically meant like mistake. And now he's talking about, the Joker for Batman. Batman's greatest boner. And then the Joker is just like, I'll show Batman what kind of boner he can make. And it's that sort of stuff. And I love going back to old comics and seeing how language has changed. Because I grew up reading Spider-Man comics, but I didn't really like the new Spider-Man comics. I read the 1960s. Do you remember like the old like Spider-Man Marvel like Essential collection sort of thing? Like this black and white reprinting of all those comics in a big sort of volume, and I just constantly go back to the old Stan Lee, Steve Ditko comics and just read those from the start. Where I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, just thinking like, whoa, those are some weird words that I'm not familiar with. Like there's this old Avengers comic where Captain America is like in a bit of a funk, and Iron Man goes up to him and he's like, I need to give him some advice. It's like, hey there, Winghead, looks like you need some solid dick from Iron Hand. Because that's what they meant, like straight talk back in the day, solid dick. And it's just like, okay, I've only seen this in fan fiction and far now, but okay, I'm here for it.
Wow.
It's so cool to see that. And you know the same thing is going to happen to us, okay? Yeah. Centuries from now, or decades from now, even not even that long from now, people are going to be looking at the stories we made and the language we use, and they're just thinking like, on fleek? Yeet. What were these people smoking? It's gonna happen. We're getting old, Tony. We're getting old.
No, I'm never gonna get old. I'm gonna drink from the fountain of youth, and I got a painting in my attic. I know. That's the annoying thing. You do. You've got that visual Dorian Gray sort of thing going on because you're older than I am and look way better. Maybe that's because I live in Scotland, and frankly, the life expectancy around here is like 42. You're getting got the huge mustache and everything, makes you look like a steampunk time-traveling detective. That was actually the look when I grew the mustache. I hope I'm a steampunk time traveler detective. That's what I hope I look like.
I'm trying to do a similar thing. It's not going well.
But these glasses are very good. The look is very.
Well, that's my only sense of style. Is like I've got the glasses and that's it. Okay. At first, people give me odd looks on the bus, but there's like, hey, you know what? They work for him. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of style in those glasses for sure.
That's the only place where I have my style, but still. Again, tangents. My God. So we talked about the Kickstarter and everything that's going to be going with that. That's going to be fantastic. There will be a link in the description, capers, when this episode comes out. The Kickstarter will be up, so give you a link. So you know what you have to do. Again, disclaimer, I have not read this whole thing in its entirety, but I still feel comfortable recommending you go and check it out and back it. It is really, really cool. And the whole thing is just looks really cool. I know that's, of all the adjectives I could use, it's pretty basic, but still, sometimes that's all you need. Just something like, you know what, that's cool. It's cool, man. I like it.
Yeah, there was somebody online who commented. They wrote, "Is it cool?" And I responded, "Very cool."
Well, fair question, easy answer. It is very, very cool. And I think on that note, that's where we're going to end the show. All the details have been given out. Any last thing you want to say, Tony, about this comic or what people should do regarding it?
You should definitely go and back it because we've worked very hard on it. And as a writer who is very cynical in what he does, I am not here to waste your time as a reader. There is a very strong story that we really want to take you on.
Absolutely, and it kind of shows. We're getting a little hint, a little soupçon of the mystery surrounding Star Noir, though frankly, I would have gotten this comic anyway just by the title alone. But on that note, I think we're going to end the show. Thank you very much, Tony, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening. Thank you very much for joining us. If you enjoy the show, Capers, please tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops, and if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes. Like we talked with so many people over the years. We're trying to get back into interviewing more people now, and so we're going to keep on doing that. Let's go to one of those other relevant episodes. You can listen to the show on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, or at podcapers.com. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone, the red and blue 3D glasses. Those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been Podcapers, the official podcast or a place to hang your cape. Cue the music!